Okay,
Now you are.
now we're
Yeah.
recording.
Okay.
We're getting there.
All right.
And then the only other issue is accessing for PowerPoint in the program.
Right. And that you can just do that with your screen share button.
With the screen share button. Okay. So
On your phone, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to, that would be presentation share button or screen share?
Screen share.
Hang on. Yeah, that's right. Share screen.
Share screen.
Oh, you went back to
Okay.
I need to stop touching the phone. You need to, there it is.
Okay,
Share
so
screen.
if I push share screen, okay, it went through its cycle. And now I've got to go to
Seeing anything.
what's that?
I'm not seeing anything on your video.
Yeah, we
No.
don't have it up yet. Hang on just a sec. Where is the presentation?
So the presentation share, we don't do that yet, right?
That's the main camera that you were just on.
Okay. So I need to do this by hand at the bottom here to do I have my external drive plugged in, but I can't find where it's at here.
So, my presentation's on an external drive.
Yeah, it's on an external drive.
Okay.
Here, it'll be right.
Yeah, it's on the backup plus drive. Okay, and then scroll down to social connection.
Yeah, I see it at the very bottom.
At the very bottom.
There it is.
And click on that. I'm getting it.
Yep. All right, and if you could just do the slideshow.
And if you could start, let's say I can start the slideshow here. I'll go up.
Hold on, I'm not seeing any video.
Oh, okay. You're not. Okay, he's helping.
Okay.
There it is.
All right, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you should be good to go.
Okay, Ed, I want to try having someone talk from the audience and see if you can hear them. So on this button here that I need to push, audience share.
Hold on one sec.
Audience mic toggle. Which one?
Oh, you're wanting to have someone in person talk?
Yeah, someone's in the class. I want to have someone talk and see if you can hear them.
Okay, yeah, then toggle the audience mic.
Okay, so I'm going to toggle that. And someone from the audience say hello.
Check, check. 1, 2, check, check.
All right.
That works. And then when they get done speaking, I toggle off, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're good for Q&A. Well,
Okay. All right. So we're gonna do. All right, everyone.
So we want to talk to the people in the Zoom class too. I'll tell them. Let me start a minute.
Okay.
Hello, everybody in the Zoom room. We're happy to have you tonight. We have a special speaker, Kristin Linzmeyer, who you've heard before, and we're thrilled to have you back again. She's going to be talking on social connections. I'm not going to take a lot of her time. Thanks for coming. Let us know if you have issues.
All right, everyone, we'll get started. Sorry about the delay. This is nothing like a little IT difficulties to get us started. So I don't know how many attended my talk a couple of weeks ago on how to prevent cardiovascular disease. I'm board certified in cardiology and in lifestyle medicine. And I really think that tonight's topic is really critically important, but often not discussed enough. And so I was really excited to be able to have this opportunity to share some of this information with you and some intuitive to some of you in the room and some of you on Zoom, but some of it might not. And so we think that the importance of social connections and relationships is so critical to our wellness and our longevity that it is one of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And so you can see here that eating a plant-focused diet, physical activity, managing stress, avoiding risky substances, improving your sleep, and form and maintain relationships. And I've said this before, and you're going to hear it like a broken record over again, that none of these habits, these pillars are in a silo. Okay, so one healthy habit and lifestyle factor, like nutrition, likes other ones. Okay, you are probably not going to want to be physically active or maybe make healthy food choices if you're exhausted because you're not getting enough sleep. Okay, if you're not managing your stress well, because we're all going to be under stress, if you're not managing it well, you're not likely going to sleep well, and you might choose maybe more alcohol to help cope with some of the stress. So none of these things are in a silo, and that is the same for maintaining your social connections and developing and maintaining your relationships. This next slide I'm going to show you is a little introduction video from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine that talks a little bit about the importance of relationships and our social connections. And it's just a nice summary, and I think it really introduces the topic well.
I'm Dr. Stephanie Eisenstadt. I'm a practicing internist and medical educator at the Massachusetts General Hospital, and I've been at the hospital for over 30 years. I'm a certified health and wellness coach and assistant professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. So you may ask, what do social connections have to do with health? Well, the quality of one's social connections or relationships are actually foundational to a longer, happier, and healthier life. Ask yourself, who brings you strength? Is there someone who really sees you and sees the whole of you? Who are those people? Remember, it's quality, not quantity. And not just people, by the way, but pets as well. Are there family members you feel close to? Who are the people who make up your chosen family? Are there people you could call in the middle of the night if you need help? Many of us spend hours at work. Are you able to connect with people at work on a more personal level? As you think about these social connections, remember that part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs includes belonging and love. And so let's that social connections result in improved health. And the opposite is true too. Social isolation is bad for your health. In fact, research shows a correlation between isolation and high blood pressure, heart attacks, cancer, and even slow healing. So here are a few examples of research demonstrating the positive effect of social connection on health. Dr. Robert Waldinger's work on what makes a good life. He directed the longest research study on human development, and what he found is that relationships make for a good life. Researchers, Doctors Richard Ryan and Edward Deshay, identified 3 key components to satisfaction, especially when you're at work. These include your ability to work independently, your competence or skill level, being able to apply your skills, and what they call relatedness, the need to feel connected and belonging with others, your relationships. Dr. Jane Dutton, a researcher at the Center for Positive Organizations at University of Michigan, describes high-quality relationships as healthy blood vessels, connecting and nourishing the body, bringing vital nutrients to all parts. Impact. You may ask yourself, what not a social butterfly? This sounds really hard. How do I build good social connections? Well, building social connections or a social network can be, for many of us, easier said than done. However, there are a range of opportunities. It's not just a one-size-fits-all. Relationships can be from the casual to the deep. So whether casual or deep impact, our health affected in a positive way. So for example, imagine you're in a store, waiting in line, even in the grocery store, and you exchange pleasant words with someone, or say, "Hope you have a nice day," to the person who is helping you. My father-in-law was always, he would strike up a conversation with anyone who would talk with him, whether it be the doorman manning the front desk of his apartment building or people sitting next to him, or literally just people on the street. Another age in what we call shared spaces. Many towns have community centers, recreation centers, YMCA, and other resources. Movie clubs, bowling, you get the idea. You might also consider volunteering. There's lots of possibilities. So what about social media and the internet? Are online connections just as sustaining? Well, it's important to clean up your internet connections, identify online communities and activities that truly engage and relate to you. Conversations through your online groups, Zoom, apps, not just scroll through and check like. Remember, relationships do not sustain themselves. They do not survive on autopilot. Relationships require intention, attention, nurturing, and effort. To put this into practice, think of reaching out to someone you haven't seen or you miss. Send a text. Say, "Just checking in. I'm just thinking of you." Or, "I just wanted to say hi." Or another example, show gratitude for the people currently in your life. Do something nice for them to show them how grateful you are. In conclusion, relationships matter and make for a good life. And I encourage you to build quality connections. Remember, it's quality, not quantity. They will benefit your health and your well-being. Thank you.
just like she said, this pillar of lifestyle medicine, nurturing and maintaining relationships, it takes work. It takes developing a habit, just like eating healthier and getting physical activity every single day. You know, there are a lot of people who are the leaders in this lifestyle medicine movement who really emphasize, maybe even more than some of the other pillars, the importance of your community and your social support system. Dr. Dean Ornish, many of you have heard of him. He's one of the founding fathers of lifestyle medicine. His Ornish Spectrum program, which is a lifestyle medicine program to help prevent and treat disease that people can enroll in, really emphasizes the importance of your social connections. So I'm going to play his little version on the importance of this. Hopefully this will work. And it's just loading here, just a second. And I'm going to mute the requisite ad. Let's let that go through. Oh, good. Awesome.
The need for love and support is a primal human need. And so we've made that a major focus here on the Ornish.
Problem, you know?
The video that's embedded is not playing.
It's a hyperlink.
Hyperlink. So
And if not, it's fine. We'll just pass. So it's suffice to say that emphasizes this as well.
Okay, try it one more time.
Okay.
Ornish spectrum, because we know what a powerful difference it can make, not only in how long you live.
Okay.
Okay, that'll be good.
Let's pull this back up. This is the ad. I was waiting for it. I know, but I'm not going to play it. You know, let it on.
Yeah. Huh? Okay, so we're going to go to presentation share.
I can't see it now, and I just,
Oh,
yeah. I think we should just pass on this. Okay.
okay.
Okay. What are you seeing now? It's not good. Okay, great. Okay. Well, sorry, that didn't work. But it was just a video where he really emphasizes the importance of social connections. And one of his oft quoted comments and how he really introduces his program is eat well, move more, stress less, love more. Okay. And he really, really emphasizes the love more. And he says, you know, people will come up to him and say, this is a really touchy-feely subject. And he says, you know, you're right, because we're touchy-feely people. We need each other. We need to depend on each other. We have feelings for each other. And that helps us maintain a healthy life and improves longevity. So that's something that he really emphasizes. So have all of you heard about the blue zones? Most of you are familiar with the blue zones. For those who haven't or are not as familiar, there are areas around the world where people have been identified as not just living longer than the average, but living healthier well into their 80s, 90s, even into the 100s, with intact cognitive function, still living independently. And this is a little pictograph that emphasizes the 9 components of what they found seem to overlap with all of these different blue zones. Loma Linda here in Southern California is one where there's a large population of Seventh-day Adventists. There's an area in Costa Rica, in Italy, in Greece, in Okinawa, Japan. And so you can see at the top is move naturally, then know your purpose and downshift. That's kind of the downshifting is about stress management, eating wisely. But look at the bottom. The foundation of this pyramid is belonging, family, belonging to a group, finding your right tribe, okay? And your family can be your biological family. It also can be your chosen family. And I just think that this is really a great way to emphasize how important that is, because without each other, all of these other things you can do, but you're doing it so that you can be out there with your community and supporting each other and loving each other. And so that is why they put this on the foundation of this, out of all of these different factors that seem to help keep people living longer and healthier. Please, anytime. Oh, so when they were identifying all of the different factors, they noticed, especially in Italy, that this group of people who are centenarians, they seem to live forever, and they're walking up and down these hills. But every day they all meet together and eat dinner together, and they eat meals together, and they drink their local wine. And they think that one of the reasons why that, you know, we know today in 2024 that really any amount of alcohol is harmful to all. They seem to do fine with it, and their alcohol that is grown locally seems to be higher than the average wine in phenols, which is the component, the chemical in wine that's supposed to be protective and healthy. So that was one of the, remember this, the blue zones have been identified over the last few decades. And these days, as we have more evidence, in general, alcohol is if you're trying to drink alcohol for your health, don't bother, because the evidence unhealthy in so many different parts of our bodies, whether it's your brain health, cancer risk, that sort of thing, is it's very evidence-based. Yeah. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I especially wanted to present the information about social connections, is because our loneliness and isolation epidemic has really become recognized throughout our country as a major problem, this epidemic of loneliness. So much so that our Surgeon General in 2023 issued a statement. It's this 80-some page statement about the epidemic of loneliness and isolation and what we should do about it. And I'm not going to read you the 80 pages, but in the beginning of it, he writes this letter to us, to US citizens, about his concerns. And he had gone, when he first became Surgeon General in 2014, and he still is today. And by the way, his name is Dr. Vivek Murthy. And when he became Surgeon General, he kind of went across the country and he spoke with people of all different demographics. And he heard over and over and over again how people don't feel like they have anybody they can count on. They'll say to him, you know, if I disappeared tomorrow, I'm not sure anybody would. Say to him, I have so much going on in my life and I have nobody I can turn to for help. And he, I mean, this is a really wonderful document. You could even just skim through. There's a lot of great to show you here that goes over the effect that isolation and loneliness has on Americans, but also, you know, potentially throughout the world. And he was fine with this. Yes, I think we can all agree that our devices, social media, all is playing a role in this. But there's other factors to this. And he talked to, it's a really, I have some tables and everything, and I thought it was really well done. You're going to hear more from him toward the end of the presentation. So this is one of the pages in his document that talks about the different factors that can shape our social connections, both positively and negatively. And you might not be able to read it. I don't know how well it comes through on for Zoomers. But up at the top, these are individual factors. And some of them I want to point out: chronic diseases, sensory and functional impairments, your mental health, your physical health, your personality, you're more introverted, your race, your gender, especially at older ages, men tend to have difficulties developing and maintaining relationships. Socioeconomic status and life stages. You know, when you're working and you maybe have a busy, so all of those things, if you have a chronic disease, like I'm going to use my uncle as an example, he was basically homebound because he had end-stage CKD, was on 4 to 5 liters of oxygen, really could not leave the house. And so, you know, he was very isolated. And so, you know, it's very difficult to recommend to those people, you know, go find your tribe, go join a club, go, you know, there's only so much that they can do. So other factors that can influence your social connections are your relationships. You know, whether you are partnered with somebody, whether you have a family, whether you have your extended family living nearby, your house. For community and society, there's a lot of different factors that also can influence, you know, whether there's outdoor spaces or safe green spaces near where you live, your housing environment, if you live in the country, or if you live in an area where it's easy to interact with your neighbors. I mean, you could read through them there. I'm not going to go through each one, but you know, there's been a lot of research done on this and the factors that influence our ability to connect or lack thereof. And so the big question though is, well, how does this affect me? How is this going to make me live longer or have a shorter lifespan? And there's a number of different processes that are thought to be involved. And you have to understand, when we look at these things, it's really hard to say that, say, loneliness or social isolation causes. We know that it's associated with a higher risk of heart disease. We know it's associated with dying earlier than expected, but it's not exactly clear exactly why that happens. Here are some of the proposed mechanisms. Being more isolated can increase your stress hormones, the levels of inflammation in your body, as well as possibly gene expression. So those genes that may turn on to express the development of a cancer may be more likely to turn on if you do not have a good support system. Psychology, having a sense of meaning or purpose. In Okinawa, every morning, people wake up and they say, there's a term, a Japanese word called ikigai. And that is their reason for being, reason for getting up in the morning. What is their reason? What is their purpose? Actually really retire. That idea of retirement in a lot of these blue zones, that's a foreign concept to them. Not necessarily because of needing the financial support, although, you know, maybe that plays a role, but people have a purpose that drives them. And the whole idea of just stopping working and stopping what has provided a lot of people with meaning in their life, that's a concept that's a little foreign in some of these areas. And then behavior, what I was getting at earlier about how there's no lifestyle pillar, behavior, or habit that is really in a silo. If you have more social connections, you might be more likely to go out and be physically active. If you're sharing meals with your friends, your family, your loved ones, you might make healthier meals and eat healthier meals. It affects your sleep, the ability to stop smoking. So, I mean, they're all related. And then you can see on the outcomes such as heart disease, stroke, and diabetes can lead to an individual's morbidity and premature mortality. So all of those mechanisms can then lead to those outcomes. So I'm going to get into a little more of maybe the feelings side of this presentation, which I think is really important. Remember, this is a touchy-feely subject because that is who we are as human beings. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a psychologist that I follow. Her name is Dr. Susan David. She's a psychologist at Harvard, and she does a lot of research in emotional agility. And more on that in a second. But she is from South Africa, and she was born and raised there. And she, if you listen to any of her TED Talks or any of her podcast episodes, she's going to mention to you that an indigenous tribe in South Africa has a Zulu word for hello. It's Sawubona. And I tried to say it, but I'm sure I'm not saying it exactly correct. But Sawubona means hello, but the literal translation means and by seeing you, I bring you into being. And isn't that really what we all, somebody to acknowledge we exist and that we belong and that we're accepted, heard. And so I really love this word for hello, but it's also I see you. I really truly see you. And familiar with this book. It's a book for all ages, children, adults, elderly. It's a lovely book. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And it's of this unlikely group of friends. And it's the author is Charlie Maxey. And there's this one page that kind of says the same thing as the Sawubona word. And it says, so you know, asked the boy. Yes, said the horse. You still love me? You all the more. So really, your support system, your community should see you, make you feel heard, and know you, and love you the way you are, and accept you the way you are. So, on to emotional agility briefly. The reason I think this is important, that this one slide, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because the feeling of loneliness is people often like to admit to. Because I don't know if they feel a little ashamed. They feel really uncomfortable admitting that they're lonely. But it's time that we destigmatize that word. And she can kind of help us do that, I think, through some of her tips. One is that we should, and by the way, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a counselor. This is just, I think, every day that any of us can use, from this reputable psychologist. But avoid identifying emotions as good or bad. They're not good. Just data, it's information, and pay attention to it. Our emotions, they do not own us. And when she talks about this, think about how we use our words. When you say things like, I am sad, or I am lonely, that's saying that's who you are, that's part of you, that's part of your being, and that's not necessarily true. It's an emotion you are feeling. So I am feeling sad. I am feeling lonely. Doesn't mean that's who you are. It's an emotion. It can be transient. It can change at any time. It is not permanent. And then finally, use your words. Have any of you said that to your kids or your grandkids, you know, especially when they're toddlers and they're so frustrated and they can't tell you what's wrong and they're having a meltdown. You're like, okay, use your words. Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? You know, and so same thing with us. You've all heard of Brene Brown. Brene Brown's a psychologist. No, I'm sorry, she's a counselor. I think she got her PhD in counseling, and she's very famous on her research, based on her research on vulnerability and the difference between guilt and shame and those sorts of things. And so anyway, I really enjoy listening to her talk and her TED Talks and podcasts and stuff. And she says that on average, when we're talking about our emotions and how we're feeling, we tend to limit it to about 3 or 4 words. I'm sad, mad, or glad. And you could add stressed in there. So we say this all the time, I'm stressed, or I'm mad. You know, again, I am feeling mad. I'm feeling angry. And not appreciating everything that you're doing? Or are you stressed? Or are you feeling unappreciated at work and are you feeling lonely? And by the way, you can feel lonely when you've got a household full of people. You can feel lonely when you've got your partner or spouse or kids or other people around, and you can feel incredibly lonely. And so in your words to really kind of broaden exactly what it is you feel can then help you identify how to go about fixing whatever so using your words and thinking about the real feelings can be really helpful. So these are some ideas to connect, and then I want to hear from you, and maybe Charlie can look at the chat in case anybody wants to chime in. Eugene, Debbie talked about this or mentioned this at a previous presentation, but Eugene has a spreading kindness campaign, Eugene and Springfield, and this was first started in which town in Southern California? Some town in Southern California started this spreading kindness campaign, and Eugene took it up also. And I'm not going to click on it because I don't know if you guys are all you will all be able to see it, but you can go on their website, the Spreading Kindness website, and it'll give you all of these ideas of ways to connect with others, ways to connect with your community, with the idea that you're spreading kindness, you're spreading generosity, you're paying it forward. And it's really a really cool website. They have a 21 days of kindness campaign, and you can do it anytime, but you can gather a group of people and you set up, and they'll help you do this. They set you up with daily reminders, like through your email or through a text, of what you should do that day to spread kindness. And so it's kind of a little challenge, 21 days of kindness challenge. And so I thought that was really cool. And again, it's a way to connect with others doing something really lovely. Dr. Murty's 5 for 5 campaign, I do want to play this. I don't know who's going to be able to see it, but at least you'll be able to hear it. And this is his idea of ways to connect with others. And I'll play that in a second. Let's just go through the others. Answer phone calls. I do this all the time, and I think there's a time and a place for it. People are calling and you're like, I can't take this call right now. I'm busy, or I'm just not in the mood, or I'm tired, or I'm about ready to head out the door. I'll call them back later, and then sometimes I forget to call them back later. And so, answer those phone calls. Not every time, but sometimes. Make a phone call. Send a text. I love sending cards. Are any of you card writers? Yes, I love sending cards in the mail because what do we get in the mail these days? Nothing good. So, so it's always fun to send a card and brighten some day. Share a meal. Sharing a meal is really a wonderful experience that can really connect food. It's a way to eat healthy food and make healthy food for other people. Making meals for somebody is, to me, like an ultimate act of love and generosity. Listen without the distraction of a phone. So I like making resolutions at other times of the year, not just on New Year's. Because one, it just seems like it's this big, there's just this big, huge expectation. And also I kind of feel more importantly, why am I waiting for New Year's to make a really important change? So I don't know if it was May or June, I decided I was going to set a resolution that when I was getting together for going out to dinner with friends, going out for coffee, going out for a drink, you know, whatever you're doing where you're meeting people and you're gathering around to talk, that I put my phone away. A couple other people and they're lost, and so I'll have it out until they get here. So in case they're like, hey, where are you? Can't find you, whatever, then I put it away. And it really, I remember walking, the reason I did this is I remember walking one time, I was in an airport and I saw all of these people, whether waiting for their connecting flights, you know, at a restaurant getting a bite to eat, or just sitting next to each other, and everybody's on their phone and nobody is talking to each other. I saw it everywhere. And once in a while, one person would be on the phone, and I'm assuming it was their spouse or something, and they're just looking bored, looking around, not, you know, they're across a small table from each other, and there's absolutely no communication. Nothing is happening. Just decided that, you know, if I wanted to have these meaningful connections with people, then I needed to put my phone away. And sometimes I break my own rule and I take it out. I'm like, oh, let's look this up, or let's do, and then I'm like, you know what, I can do that later. You know, so I screw up once in a while. We all do, but I try and remind myself, hey, put it away. Perform acts of service. Volunteering is a great way to connect with your community and meet other like-minded people. And again, find your tribe, hiking, volunteering, that sort of thing. So any of you, if you have any ideas of ways that you have found to connect with anybody? Yeah. Yeah. That is beautiful. Yes. Right. Right. But they've set aside, that is the time that is set aside, rain or shine. Yeah. It's kind of sacred time. Yeah. I thought I saw, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And that takes a lot of vulnerability. And if they say, I can't, camp this week, or we've been, and it takes some vulnerability to ask for like, hey, I need my people, you know. Or I moved here not that long ago either, about a year and a half ago, and because of work schedule and everything, I still haven't found, you know, a bunch of friends in this area. And so it takes some, you know, a little bit of, you get a little nervous. You're like, okay, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go and try this out, and maybe I'll meet some people. So, yeah, yes. Yes. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Right. 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 Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. And if it takes, and it takes time. It takes time as adults to make friends. It's not as easy as it was when you were, you know, grad school or when you were in your 20s. It was a little easier. Although I have to say that young people are struggling with loneliness and isolation as much as older adults. And you know, I just listened to a podcast with Dr. Murti on YouTube, and it was about going back to school, and he interviewed oh gosh, I cannot believe Lori Santos. He is happy. It's all very research and evidence, and it's a wonderful. And she talked about how much stress she sees in her college students at Yale, and how isolated and lonely they feel, and how they feel like they're barely keeping their heads above water. So it's not just, you know, I like to think that, oh, it's harder at my age to make friends because you're just not surrounded by, you're not in college anymore. But
Hey, tomorrow we're gonna have a social connection and a share a meal at the
great,
potluck.
likewise. That's right. So potluck tomorrow. You can come and meet more friends. Anything else? Any on the chat?
I don't see any on the chat.
Okay. I'm gonna just play. I'm gonna see if I can play. Oh,
So there's another page that we need to get to. We need to go back to the external hard drive. Ed, can you get us back to the external hard drive? And there's one more.
Boise. Yeah. So yeah, that's why with work, I was going back and forth still to Boise to work, and so I just felt like my roots here were a little shallow.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
and
I'll
so
find
and
it.
now that I'm
This one
settled
right there.
here, I'm really more established. I feel like.
All right, this is what you're looking for.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm looking for.
No?
I want to play that bit. It's my okay. So, okay.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I'm hoping you'll be able to. This isn't opening. I thought you said it. Remember how we talked about this? So these are hyperlinks.
Yeah.
Okay, let me
So-
go online and see if I can pull it up.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna see if I can find this, video, and if not, that's fine. Oops. 2, 5, 4, 5. See if we can find this. House call this. Here we go. All right. Let's see if, yes, okay.
Good.
I'm Vivek Murthy, and I have the honor of serving as U.S. Surgeon General. This week, we're doing a bonus episode on building social connection. Hello, House Calls listeners. This week, we're doing a bonus episode in the spirit of building more social connection. As we head into the holiday season, this is a great time to build our connection muscles. So my office has launched a national challenge called a 5 for 5 Connection Challenge. To help you get started, I'm answering a handful of questions. First, why does social connection matter? Just like we need water and food, we need social connection to survive and to be healthy. Social connection is not just an antidote to loneliness, it's also a powerful force that enhances our mental health. When we struggle with loneliness and isolation, it can increase our risk of depression and anxiety. Social connection helps protect us against these conditions. I feel so strongly about the importance of social connection that back in May 2023, I released the first ever Surgeon General's advisory on loneliness and isolation. You can read more about it at surgeongeneral.gov/connection. So what exactly is this challenge? We're calling it the 5 for 5 challenge. The idea is to take 5 actions over 5 days to create and deepen our social connection. There are many ways to do this. To start, we're suggesting these 3 ways: express gratitude, offer support, and ask for help. I particularly love connecting through gratitude because remembering people I'm grateful for reminds me that I'm not alone. It reminds me that there are people who care about me and have my back. Also, showing gratitude can be a very simple act that can just take a minute. As you take the challenge, you can visit surgeongeneral.gov/challenge. There you'll find some tools, including a deck of cards with lots of ideas for creative ways to connect. You might be thinking, I'm busy. Is this going to take a long time? No, it can just take 30 seconds a day to connect with someone. Think about a time perhaps someone you hadn't heard from in a while had reached out. Think about how surprising and uplifting that simple message was. That's what you can do for someone else through this challenge. Who else is doing the challenge? I've visited thousands of students at universities all across the country who are taking part in the challenge. And now all of you can too. I encourage you to pair up with a family member or a friend to take this challenge. Maybe their colleagues at work, classmates, or neighbors. The more, the merrier. Has the Surgeon General done the challenge? I've done the challenge, and even though I talk about social connection a lot, I've been reminded in doing so how small acts of gratitude and service can go a long way to helping us feel more connected. I'll be sharing some of my challenge experiences on the Surgeon General accounts on social media. What challenge? I hope the challenge will remind you of the power and importance of human connection. I also hope that the experience of connecting for 5 days will make it easier for you to keep these practices in your life. Each act of connection helps you and another person. Doing this challenge and how many people will benefit in the end. In the spirit of connecting, I have 2 asks of you. Also join you
kind of a way to keep you honest, to keep you on track, keep you on target. And if one of those goals is to call a friend, you know, once or twice a week, and you can check that off as a way to connect with people, maybe especially ones that you haven't talked to in a while. So when I just want to end with reading, this isn't on the presentation, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. But this is a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's about, the subtitle is Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. And the author is Bessel van der Kolk, who's a physician, and he is specializes in trauma counseling and healing. And in just a couple of lines that I want to read to you, that I think is a kind of a great way to sum this up. A few years ago, he's talking about himself. A few years ago, I heard Jerome Kagan, a distinguished emeritus professor of child psychology at Harvard, say to the Dalai Lama, in this world, there are hundreds of small acts of kindness and connection. His conclusion, to be benevolent rather than malevolent is probably a true feature of our species. Being able to feel safe with other people is probably the single most important aspect of mental health, fundamental lives. Around the globe have shown that social support is the most powerful protection against becoming overwhelmed by stress and trauma. Social support is not the same as merely being in the presence of others. The critical issue is reciprocity, being truly heard and seen by the people around us, feeling that we are held in some, for our physiology to calm down, grow, we natural feeling of safety. No doctor can write a prescription for friendship and love. So there's only so much that modern medicine can do for us. There are so many other things that can actually help us stay healthy and feel and live longer. So that's if you have questions or concerns. Yes. Yeah. 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 It's easy to get discouraged. Yeah. Yes. But I agree. Keep trying and keep working. I mean, it'll pay off. It's like a habit tracker. Yeah. Let's see if I can pull that back up. If we can or not. Oh, here it is. Here we go. So it's discover your why, and you put in the month up here, and let's get rid of this. And then here in the white different lines, you put whatever your habits are or goal. And then these are the days of, yeah, if you go in the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, they do have a section where basically, I don't know if they call it patient resources or community resources. And you should be able to find it on there. 30 minutes, 3 days a week. You know, then you can start checking it off those. Yep. So, but it's good for anything. I mean, that's kind of a concrete thing. Sometimes when we're talking about things like community engagement, social support system, that sort of thing, it seems like, and they can be just such small things that may not feel quite as concrete as walking 30 minutes a day, but they can mean so much. So, and have so much value. Anybody on the chat? I don't know if we lost everybody or.
No, it's been fine. They can hear fine.
Okay.
Yeah, the people in the room could hear the Wi-Fi kept going in, maybe because of the rain
Mm.
or whatever it might be, it's part of the technical issues,
Yeah.
but. Anybody have any thoughts? Yes.
People kind of adapting that old school way of just making friends. That was like really rough on me because like I was just from that era where it was like, you want to play some ball? Like, all right, cool, I got next. It was kind of like that, and I roughly seen that when I was like, when I graduated from college, 21 years old. I immediately started working on it. Right after that, I kind of sheltered like myself a little bit. I was like, I just need one category, and one category I'm just gonna be good. Now being 30 years old, I make sure that I'm volunteering in places. I'm making sure that I'm calling my brother, my elderly mom. I'm making sure that I'm checking up on peers that I went to high school with, people that I went to college with, who are like social media. I'm making it out that when I'm all not at all. I'm speaking. And I just learned that this is a forever journey, especially as adults, and it's not supposed to be, because when we're adults, everything like your priorities, where your heart, been through things, you don't want to get hurt anymore by a situation or friends who you thought were there, and the best thing is to do is to let those things go and move on and understand that not everyone people that like live on our block, and just saying like, hey, we're driving, they'll look at me almost like I called their mother or something. You know what I mean? But it's not just because they were shut in, and but if I wasn't messaging those people on like social media, like, hey man, what's going on? I see you're in our neighborhood. And I'm like, okay, I understand, I see what the switch is. So it's a forever progress. It's, especially with like the way that like social media is going like today. So in terms of me, like I said, any events that like come up, I try to I pour myself to those events. I pour my partner to those events when she is here. And I just try to make sure that I'm volunteering as much as possible. Yeah, so.
And I think somebody said it in one of the videos. Very, very mean. And some of my neighbors, we've swapped seeds for our garden and accepted and given away produce from our gardens. And it's not like they know everything about me, but we have really nice conversations, meaningful interactions when we do meet up and converse. And it really, it's that little spark of joy that those interactions leaves you feeling good that you connected with another human being. And yet, they're not necessarily my bestie, but they're good people and I really enjoy talking. So
I feel like you're saying, the neighbors aren't, and I know everybody's busy, but when I grew up in the 70s, and the people on each side of us were really good friends, people across the street were friends, and like you were saying, my mom get together every spring and go, okay, I'll plant this in the garden and you plant this, and they trade and all that. And I just remember when my ex-husband, when we first moved to Portland area, and we had kids, and we thought, oh, okay, a lot of times you meet people through kids. Right. We did not know one of our neighbors. Them was overly friendly, even though we tried to be. So just to our area, we but it was don't know them. Yeah. modifying groups. And I'm like, okay. And then anytime that she would, move to a new town, that would be part of the profession, whether she's just going to stay there. So in my life right now, I've had 4 years of surgeries and my mobility is really, with this last 18 years or so, I've been becoming stronger and stronger. So I'm thinking my two sons, where can I go? I found going swimming. I go swimming every day. And what I found one day, I'm in the pool and look back and so all these gray-haired people, I found my peace. And we've all gone through major surgeries for one thing or another. And we don't all go at the same time. But we've got, how do you doing today? How do you doing? So it's been really, that's the community. It's really nice.
And because you know you're going to find your peace at the pool, you go and exercise. So again, it all kind of, it's like a Venn diagram and they all overlap. You're like going to exercise on a daily basis because you like the people that you're with. Yes, right. Yeah, I have a friend who doesn't run anymore because all of her friends she used to run with, she doesn't hike as much either because they all either moved away or they don't run. And so she was a great runner. So, you know, and she misses it. So, yeah.
It's moving a lot of people.
Yeah.
I say, as a parent, my son is telling me, just, I mean, you're in Eugene, Mom, there's lots of great places, go on a hike. I don't feel comfortable going on this. And then, what was it, over the summer, there were some bad things happening out towards Benita on the trips. So, and that just was like, see? And so, again, finding people.
But I like your idea of the meetups though, because you can find a meetup hiking group.
Yeah.
And then you could be together for safety. And yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you all for coming on this rainy evening. I don't know what the weather's gonna be like the rest of the weekend, but the feel. Is it?
Come to the potluck tomorrow.
Thank you.
You guys? Potluck? At noon, here at noon tomorrow.
That didn't have on
Yeah.
our.
Even if you don't. Anything to bring.
Yeah.
Past when we had him at the.
Because I went to one of
Yeah.
the.
I just can't, I mean.
And
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
where everybody-
Yeah.
the program is. Sending.
Yeah, we don't need to put away the tables or anything. We're just gonna leave them up for tomorrow.
I don't get it. Okay, so we're gonna close the program now.
Yeah, it's
Next week, we're doing diabetes. It'll be the topic next week.
cool.
Thank you, Chris.
There must,
Yeah, I just. Maybe go to some minutes, yeah. Oh.
they won't let me connect at this time, so I'm gonna just, I asked Dad if he would